Welcome to the Stay Ready Real Estate Podcast, where we stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I'm your host, Emeka. And what this podcast is all about is letting you know that regular people like you and me can invest in real estate to become wealthy. You don't need millions and billions of dollars to invest in real estate. You can actually invest in real estate with little to no money down. I'm just here to let you know that as long as you have time and can take action, you can become wealthy. And all it takes is a couple of years for you to honestly become financially free. So tune in. Hope you enjoy. What is going on, team? Today, what we're going to talk about is how to pivot in real estate. This podcast is about showing you the real deal, talking about real things that real investors do, like myself. Whenever I'm on this podcast talking, I am not talking based off what other people tell me all the time, right? I'm also talking about things that I've experienced myself. And today, what we're going to talk about is sometimes you just got to pivot. Sometimes you just have to pivot because in real estate, in life, things don't always go as you plan. And this house I'm in is a prime example. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm in the house that I've been updating you with the past couple of months, right? Since last April, I believe. And I have another playlist. You can go on YouTube, go to my YouTube channel, go to my playlist, type in or look for Lakeland Flip 1, and you can see the progress of this house and the ups and the downs that I've had. And the reason why we're going to talk about pivoting today is because I listed this property on the market, and now we're going to take it off and try to get it rented for multiple reasons. And I'm going to explain today of why pivoting is so vital and why having two different exit plans is also vital. Because real estate is not perfect. It is the best investment class that you can invest in, hands down, and I'm willing to argue with anyone about it. But that does not mean it's going to always make you money immediately. It almost never makes you money immediately. You make money when you buy, and you can when you sell, but you can always lose when you sell. But you don't always have to sell. So when I say real estate is about pivoting, it is because things change. The real estate market is correlated with the economy. So is a lot of things. But when it comes to the economy, right, let's say a lot of people have been building new homes, new multifamilies, and there's so many options out there. If there's plenty of options out there, that means it's going to be tougher to be aggressive with its sale. Because if a buyer doesn't have to buy, why should they buy from you if your price is too high, right? And I'm not here to say that my price was too high. What I'm here to say is this house didn't go as planned for a multitude of reasons. We had a foundation issue that the price went up and up and up and up. A bunch of different surprises, and increased labor costs and off budget on materials for a little bit. But when we sold, or when we did the underwriting to sell, if we were to sold at the asking price, there just wasn't enough meat on the bone for us to cover expenses and make any profit. But then we took a step back, looked at the drawing board, looked at our underwriting, and said, hey, we don't need to sell right now. It's a great product. We believe in the product, but let's pivot. Let's try to rent it out. Let's refi, get our hard money loan out, and see what else we can do to not only save a deal, but make money, and then even do better in a year or two to sell when the economy turns. Because if many people are in lower interest rates, that means that they don't necessarily need to leave their home. So if they are looking for a house, or if they were looking for a house, they're probably looking for that perfect house for them, but they don't have to move. And I told you that you need two exits. You always need two exit plans, because obviously things don't always go as planned. But if you're if you're underwriting, if whatever you're doing, whatever you're planning for, if that doesn't work, what is your next move? You always need to be prepared. This is a stay ready real estate podcast because we stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And here's a prime example, right? When things don't go as planned, what are you going to do? In real estate, it's not as risky as you think. There are risks. This whole house is a pure example of a risk. But what are you doing to prepare for the worst case scenarios? What are you doing to stress test your deal? What are you doing to stress test what you think the outcome will be? And what are you doing to stress test what the outcome can be? Right? There's a difference, right? Because there's been plenty of people I've talked to. There's been other deals I'm in, multifamily, single family, BRRRRs, flips, short-term rentals. I have a wide variety of experience. And almost every single time there's going to be a surprise. I have never been perfect on a deal. So for those who maybe have not invested yet, or they're thinking about investing or contemplating investing, I'm not here to give you a Debbie Downer episode. I'm here to give you real talk, reality of what goes on in an investor's day in the life. And you have to always be prepared to pivot if that comes in. Let's talk about the reasons of 2 exit plans, potentially even 3. Right? When you buy a property, let's talk about single family homes. When you buy a property, what you're doing is you're trying to figure out how you can make money. You have a long-term goal. There's a why to why you invest, but there's a long-term goal. And at the end of the day, you're not here. This is not a nonprofit. You are here to make money, but you have to understand that you have to give money to make money. And whenever you start giving, and then next thing you know, your budget might be out of whack, what are you doing to pivot, right? Because these downturns, these down cycles in the economy, those situations where it's horrible in our life, we got so much going on. We got family drama. We got friends who don't like us. People hit us at work, or work is just so busy, or I have to go visit this property again to check on my contractors. I'm already the list goes on. Life is going to hit you in the face, right? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. But the most important thing, and this is where real investors change the trajectory of themselves, change the trajectory of where they're going. It is when you are knocked on your butt, whenever you get hit in the mouth, whenever you lose a tooth, whenever you lose 20 grand, right? What do you do at that moment? Do you make an excuse? Do you blame everyone else? Or do you accept what reality is and figure out how to overcome with it? Because time waits for no one, right? Time waits for absolutely no one. That second that just passed, we will never get it back. So why are we going to dwell on what happened? What we can do is look at what happened in the past, analyze what happened in the past, understand the context of what happened in the past, and use that to our advantage and learn from it and understand what we can do to have avoided those circumstances. Hindsight bias is a very real thing. When things happen, we look back and say, oh, it was so obvious. Oh, I should have did this. Oh, I should have did that. And it's always going to happen, and it's human nature. But in real estate, it's going to happen all the time. And because it's going to happen all the time, you need to understand you always need to be prepared to pivot your strategy. Understand, there is so many different ways to make money in real estate, but there is so many more different ways to lose money in real estate. And whenever you are underwriting deals, whenever you're looking online, whenever you're talking to your contractors, understand that whatever they're telling you, whatever the market's telling you, a black swan event can happen. So there is no guarantee for anything. I know experienced investors who have been in the game for a multitude of years, people who are double my age. I have talked to so many people who are investors, who are professionals, who have stories where they had to pivot, and now look at them, right? They changed their strategy. They accepted what was. They accepted what is. And they understood that they could still make money if they just get over the hump or if they just pivot, right? Pivot. What does pivoting mean? Pivoting mean is get away from all the plans that you originally had if you didn't have a backup, and utilizing different strategies of the things that you've learned from other people, the things you've learned from me, this podcast, other podcasts, books. Understand that that first option that you had might not be the best option, depending on the circumstances, depending on the context, right? So whenever we're investing in real estate, we need to understand it is the best investment, but we need to understand that bad things can happen. Just like stocks. Look at crypto right now, right? Look at the economy. Look at the government. Look at the president, the presidency, right? He tweets about tariffs, and the things can go up or down. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but what we can do is understand what works, what has been working, what works for other people, and what did they do to get where they are. And where am I right now? I'm in a house in a flip where I projected that we're going to sell by now, where I projected that our cost, our rehab's going to be X amount of dollars, and it wasn't. It was over. We're not selling, and now we're going to rent, and that's okay, right? I'm not sad. Would I have liked to sell it now? Yeah, sure. It would be nice to wash our hands, to get rid of it, but that's not how operators work. Whenever you see online, your friends, your acquaintances, these meetups, people talk about all these amazing stories, these home runs. Bigger Pockets is a great example where they have amazing guests, great hosts, but they tell you all about the great deals. No one goes on a podcast and talks about the bad stuff that they did and the world's falling and everything's no. People go on podcasts and talk about the highlights of their life. That's what social media is about. It is a online, ongoing resume that shows the best things about them. But what I'm here to show you is, yes, real estate is great, but it's also frustrating and upsetting sometimes. And sometimes you have to pivot. Because those times, your darkest days, your hardest deals, those are what's going to make you the best investor and the best human possible. Because if you could handle during a downturn, a down cycle, bad times in life, things going on, if you can get out of that 10 times better than what you were, those are the lessons. That is the experience that is unbeatable. That's the stuff you can't get on a book. That's the stuff you can't get from a podcast. That's the stuff you can't get from school. Real life experience. This experience has taught me more things than anything else. And the experience specifically, me having to pivot from a sell to renting because we're over budget, over 50 grand, right? This real life experience is quite frankly exciting. I say it's exciting. I'm not saying I'm happy, but what I am saying is this is going to make the best of me as possible. And I hope that you learn from me and understand that I am still standing here today in a deal that hasn't gone the greatest, telling you to invest in real estate because that's how much I believe in it, and that's how much I know that it's going to be beneficial. And that's how much I know that this is real life, right? This is not a dream. This right here, what I'm talking about, what I'm experiencing, this is a real life investor telling you that this deal didn't go as planned, but it's going to be okay because we can pivot, and there is another option when it comes to a real estate investment. Real estate is the best investment you can do, but you must understand that you must have a backup plan. You must have two exit plans. Whenever you're underwriting, whenever you're looking at deals, whenever you're talking to wholesalers, understand that regardless of what they say, what they tell you things can sell for, what they tell you things can rent for, what they tell you how much money it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is your projections and the things that you can do if all else fails. Because real estate's for the long term. No one invests in real estate for a short term, right? Flips are short term strategies, 3 to 6 months. But no one just does a flip and stop unless it's just a horrible and then they had a bad taste in the mouth. And if they stop after one flip, that means they weren't real investors, right? Don't listen to those people. Listen to people like me, who's bought a property every single year since 2020 and counting. And I'm on a contract for another property, another flip in the middle of this madness. I might be crazy, yes, but I believe in real estate and I know it's going to be the best for the future. And I understand that there is no such thing as a risk free investment, period. I go on this show and say real estate isn't risky. There is always going to be some risk. But at the end of the day, I have a tangible asset that I can look at, touch at, feel, stand on, and I'm going to be okay. And if there's anything you get out of this episode outside of pivoting, is I want you to understand that these times, those times where you are at your darkest days, your worst investment, someone literally crashed into one of my kitchens in one of my properties 2 days after we gave someone an extension who was ready to buy. And now that our property is still for sale and we have a loan due soon, right, in a couple months. That's okay. It is not ideal. That's not something we want. But this is real life. But we're still standing, we're still making offers because we believe in an asset. We understand that if we can come through with this, we can get out of this, we can get out of anything. Stay ready, my friends. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. I really hope you enjoyed. My goal with these podcasts is to help you get 1% better every single day. And if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe and go to my YouTube channel because I post real life deals and the ongoing things that I'm doing to let you know that I'm walking the talk and not just talking about it, not just yapping. So, hope to see you next week. Till next time.